Okay, good. Yeah. So hello everyone. Welcome to the Meshery development meeting on Wednesday. So yeah, today we will be talking about the development in Meshery, and here we go like so uh, yeah. As a convention, we just get introduced to some newcomers joining our community and get to know each other, very well, so that yeah, this relation can go long. So I think Pankaj is new to this call, or probably the first time on this Meshery development meeting, right? Pankaj,
Yes, this is my first time joining the dev call.
great. So if you can tell a bit about yourself, like,
Sure. Thanks, Abhishek. So I joined the community some 10-15 days ago because I wanted to take part in the Linux Foundation mentorship program under Layer 5. And about myself, I am a final year student of information technology from Mumbai, India. And I have some experience in developing with Go and Kubernetes from my internship, and I'm looking forward to connect with more of you um, over many days.
oh, great, great. Yeah, we have a lot of folks specialized in Kubernetes. So great. We will pair you with someone. Yeah. So I think Sambit and Neeraj are also new, have also joined this call for the first time, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So go ahead. Yeah, the stage is yours.
Yeah, hello. Hello. Like I'm Samvit. Recently, just 1 week ago, I joined the channel and like uh, get assigned one good first issue, and I've tried to set up the project locally and like sent a PR. It is been reviewed till date, and the process is smooth, and the whole community is supportive for in whole the process. So that's
Good to have you. Oh, Avi, you might be on mute, but yeah, some bit. Yeah, no, great to have you. Unless you're from Mumbai, Sambit, that would be terrible. Oh, wait. Oh, Pankaj is from Mumbai. Okay, never mind. Moving on. Good. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Yeah. So anyone left? They want to introduce themselves, and we just moved on. So it should not be happening. So yeah, you can just brief about yourself, and we can go ahead with this.
Hey Abhishek, I
Yeah.
hope you're having a great evening.
Yeah.
I'm Adarsh, and I recently joined Meshery just like 15 days ago, and so far I've managed to get like two small pull requests done. And coincidentally, just after I joined, I just got to know that there was there was an LFX opening at Meshery regarding the Redux state overall project, and it seems pretty nice. So and I'm looking forward to take up more issues on the front end side of things. So yeah.
Great, great, great. Yeah. Okay, good. Anyone else? Or we should move ahead.
Abhishek, can I introduce myself?
Yeah, sure, sure, sure.
Hey everyone, I'm Devanshi Yadav. I am a final year undergrad currently studying at the University of Mumbai. So I'm also from Mumbai, like Pankaj. And yeah, I have also been, I just joined the community last week, and I have some experience working with JavaScript and TypeScript and stuff. So I have been mostly, looking to contribute to the front end aspect of Meshery. So I just made my first PR to Meshery today. So yeah, it's been going really great, and I'm really excited to keep contributing to the community.
Nice. Great to have you. Yeah. We need some front
Yeah,
end people. Yeah.
hi Abhishek.
Yeah.
Can I go ahead?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Neeraj Anand. I'm a final year fourth year BTech student pursuing computer science and engineering from IIT Jodhpur. I also joined Meshery Slack channel last week. So I do have some sort of open source experience. So yeah, I'm also looking forward to contribute to some of the repos. Recently, I have taken an issue of service mesh performance repo. So yeah, looking forward to contribute more. Excited to be the part of the team. Thank you.
Yeah, same here. We are excited to have you. So good. So I hope no one else is left, or there is. Okay, cool. So many new people. Yeah, really excited to see your path and yeah, your trajectory. So good. Then we can move ahead with the first item of our agenda. So Meshery.io redesign UX program proposal. Debopriya.
Yep. So recently we had a request to redesign the Meshery.io site, and we reached out and we had an overwhelming amount of response from a lot of UI UX designers. And I'm going to talk about the plan that we have for this. I am laying down a certain set of instructions and a feature request that we need in the new site. So the main purpose for this redesign is to include and showcase all of the new Meshery features that Meshery supports. To list a few, like we have moved from service mesh centric to cloud native centric now. We need to focus more on Kubernetes and all of the latest Meshery features like ARM support, multi-cluster support, application management, and so on. So our current site, this is like the major purpose of the redesign, and I'm laying down some other pointers which I will share with the participants of this UI UX program. So the main, for the next few weeks, starting from next week, we'll have a 2-week design period where all the participants, they are open. It's open for everyone to start designing the site in the way that they want. After the 2-week period, we'll have initial round of shortlisting to select a few members. And then we'll have a detailed review process in one of the websites called. And after that, since we want the best possible design, we won't be looking at one particular winner sort of a thing. We will look for collaboration. We might take some ideas from one design, some ideas from the other. But at the end of it, we will look for the top designs and look for collaboration amongst all the people. And we have had a couple of UI UX members contributing actively in the community. So I will seek out to them for helping in the reviewing process and everything. So that is what the plan is for now. And I just wanted to give a brief update for anyone on the call. If you are into this program as well, this is for you. And yeah, that's all from me for now.
Yeah, good. So yeah, great opportunity for all the UX members here. A whole lot ground to learn and prosper. Anything else we have on this topic, please?
Yeah, maybe just to add to what Debopriya was saying and flow into the next topic, I'll say that, that Meshery.io conveys much of Meshery's service mesh specific value, which is true. It's also true that you don't have to be using a service mesh to get a lot of value out of Meshery. You don't even need to be running Kubernetes. A prominent example is the fact that Meshery has 3 load balancers built into it. And you can do performance testing, load generation, and some statistical analysis of your applications, of your services, whether those are running on Kubernetes or not, or whether they're running on a mesh or not. Meshery, so that's, I state this to to say that that's in large part why the meshery.io website needs to be rearranged a bit. There's some parts of the site that like just make you cringe and like are like particularly painful to look at. I have nightmares over the programs page. I think it's just outdated, terrible. There's videos of me up there, which I watch to fall asleep at night. But the other parts of the pages need to like prominently articulate the value of Meshery out of context of a service mesh. And so, yeah, so I've got my fingers crossed for the $1 million pot at the end for whoever gets that. I don't know. Of course, those people have to have their names registered in the attendees list. Otherwise, we just won't know who they were. So Debopriya, thanks for taking that on. I know there were well over 100, maybe 150 folks that expressed interest, signed up. It's too bad that we don't have 150 sites to build. We do have like, how many sites do we, how many web-based applications do we have now? We've got like 6 sites or something, Meshery UI. We've got the play.meshery.io. I was just meeting with Sivo earlier this morning on potentially something to do there. Anyway, we've got a lot of sites, a lot of front-end things going on. As a matter of fact, if Mr. Cambodge is on Yash, he's been routinely telling the community about an upcoming rewrite in Meshery UI. So the next release of Meshery, there's a refactoring that's in flight now. There's new designs that need to be made there. Debopriya, we might do well to allude to Meshery UI's like new UX there as a separate or different or related project that the UXers might want to try their hand at. It's a lot more difficult because it requires context for who the users are and what tasks they're trying to accomplish, but it's very much needed. So anyway, on the second topic there, we do LFX all the time. We do internships all the time. We were doing LFX before it was called LFX, I guess. Not that that matters at all. We do internships all the time. We do them direct with Layer 5. We do them through, well, there's a couple of GSockers on the call. There's some LFXers on the call. There's some direct interns on the call. There's some folks who've interned and are still here. And that's very much so the goal is to engage with people long-term, is to build out a great set of capabilities. There's some people who are quite excited about the capabilities that we have. There's some companies that you might recognize that are quite excited. Just had a partnership meeting with Intel last week on MeshMark related to Meshery. Meshery implements MeshMark. I think there's an internship focused on service mesh performance that might touch on this. Another partnership meeting with HPE. They're thinking of integrating Meshery into GreenLake, which is their, well, it's not just their Kubernetes offering. It's it's their core offering from HPE right now. So anyway, the work that you're doing, getting lots of eyeballs, lots of interest. So I lost. Oh, I think okay. Sorry, we had a brief interruption. On to the internships. There's more of these things than there are mentors to like deliver them. So, but come get them. We do them all the time. As a matter of fact, if you show up and if you're consistently showing up, you're doing compelling or like impactful contributions, which don't necessarily need to be code, you'll probably get one shoved in front of your face. Like, we just want to support those that are engaged and doing well. We want to not only make software that changes people's lives, we want to have internships or experiences that change people's lives. And that is actually why some people who do internships are still here, because their lives are still being improved. So anyway, I thought we'd just give a quick word on some internships. There's a couple out there focused specifically on MeshMap, so if you're into front end things, give that some thought. That's it for me. If you have questions about internships, for the love of God, ask those questions publicly, please. I can't tell you how many hundreds of people ask and inquire and suggest that they're the person well in advance of them having even gotten familiar with the projects. To be forthright, like it usually takes about 3 months of contributing before you're awarded an internship. Internships are earned. Okay, good. I think it's over to
Yeah.
Subedy.
Okay. Subedy.
Nice. So yeah, Aditya, Subedy, if you're there, you could talk about things that you're doing inside the docs.
Yeah. I'll just quickly share my screen. Okay. As stated in the previous meetings, I have been working on to making all the components and its integrations visible on the Meshery docs. So talking about my current progress, I have been able to, populate these fields like number of components, service mesh, total number of versions automatically. So, by saying automatically, I mean that we are the workflow for this is that we are running an automated workflow on Meshery on different adapters repository. From there, all the components that are present in that repository, we are copying those to Meshery repository inside the docs folder. So inside the docs folder, we have all these integrations and all their all the integrations of all the components and versions stored. And from there, we are populating the Meshery documentation website. So yeah, so currently I've been able to replicate all of these with code, the integrations, number of components, total number of versions. I had one question. So currently I have one question that how are these latest component version and service mesh version different? Because yeah, that's one question. And after if it gets answered, I have one more questions. The latest component version and the service mesh version, the latest version. So I think they are both similar because yeah.
So Ashish, do you want to speak?
Yeah, from where are you extracting out the latest component version?
Latest component version, I'm extracting out from, yeah. So I'm sorting all the file names, and the greatest file name is I'm putting at the latest I think.
So can you go back to the definition file of one of these inside of the adapters from where you're actually fetching these from where you're actually creating these markdowns? I guess so the file name and the version inside of the JSON might be different. That might be. Can you go back to one of the adapters for example? Yeah. So okay, so this name of this directory is the latest version name, right? The component version that we are getting.
Yeah, component. Yeah.
Okay, and if you go inside of one of the definition of any of these components.
Definition, okay.
And the version is this one, right?
Yeah, stable. Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay, so I think okay, so the file name and so this, can you file an issue for this, because this shouldn't be the case. The mesh version should match the file version. So somewhere in the code while generating these components, there might be some discrepancy between what basically what version we are assigning to the. So yeah, that's not fault at your part. So you can remove that extra column, but while you go to remove that, wherever you find this discrepancy, file an issue in that adapter. I will take that up and make sure that there is that this is not the case, because there shouldn't be the case.
Okay, so while showing in the documentation, we just show the latest component version. We can omit the service mesh version, right?
Now that's up to what makes up for a better UX, or what conveys more information? Should we show latest supported service mesh version or latest component version if someone else has a better opinion about that? But yeah, we would need only one of these.
Okay, and one more thing is that in the workloads, we have edge as well as stable versions. So which one to show in the latest one, or should we have we can show both and we have checkbox for edge and stable, just like we have in compatibility matrix?
Yeah, checkbox looks fine to me. Can you go to compatibility matrix and show people what you mean by the box?
Yeah, this checkbox, which we show all the edge and stable in one single table. So if we select edge, we see only the stable versions.
Yeah, we can have a similar experience, so that will be sort of a uniformity, consistency. So yeah.
Okay, so edge as well as stable for upper. So there will be two fields for one adapters, one edge, one stable.
Let's take this discussion forward to Slack.
Okay, sure. Yeah, that was it.
Okay, yeah. So let's move to Cyrine. Helm consolidation, Helm charts, set graph here.
By the way, you missed me.
Okay.
That was on purpose. That was on purpose.
So, okay, you should go first then. Yeah. So enhanced notification center with better event handling. Just go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So just to give a little bit of context, we have this notification center that Uzair and me have been working on, and currently whatever operation you perform, any service mesh related operation you perform, when that operation completes, the error or the info or the warning or whatever the result of that operation was is streamed back to this notification center. So currently there are a few bugs around this, and also the kind of thing that we get back is pretty non-descriptive. So like you can see, there is not much data here right now. Even the errors do not carry them with themselves the probable cause and the suggested remediation, the kind of meshkit error paradigm that we are following across our repos through Meshery and Meshery adapters. And Uzair would be talking about this thing after me. So I will not talk about his stuff. I will talk about what I've been working on. Okay, so this notification center has been pretty fragile. So I have basically in this document that I'll share in the Zoom chat, I've laid out a rough architecture diagram of how it would look like after my few of my PRs. So it's kind of a suggestion / you can say proposal. So on a high level overview, we have like these producer, and these producers are event producers. These can be our adapters. They produce events. So for instance, when I install a service mesh, that's a service mesh specific operation, the adapter is the event producer, and the event would be that something has been installed or something has been removed, XYZ, etc., etc. Or this can be Meshery itself. So when we perform any Kubernetes specific operation, we do not have a Kubernetes adapter. We have the logic that does all the Kubernetes stuff is inside of Meshery. So in that case, there would be a routine inside of Meshery, which would be the producer. So we will have these bunch of producers, and they will have a buffer in which it's kind of a circular queue in which we will store events, and these events would be streamed back from a gRPC call if we are talking to adapter, or a normal function call if it is within the same process, or if these are Meshery events. And for each request, for each user request, or as I can say, for each client, so in this case, each of these tabs one can be thought of as one client. So each client will form a GraphQL subscription with the Meshery server, and for each of that GraphQL subscription, we would reach out to all the producers and first of all copy all their events from their buffer, throw it back to the client, and then keep open that this stream to keep streaming back all the new events. Just to give a short demo. So for instance, like right now, if I try to, let's say, if I go back on MeshMap, and this is MeshMap, I'll try to deploy this test namespace. And if I deploy this, Okay, so this design deployed successfully was the result of the normal HTTP call, and the other the notification that you saw about successfully deployed Kate's component test. And if I go back to all of these other tabs, this same notification will appear. So all of the clients would get the notification, no matter whether they initiated the event or not. And if a new client connects, so just to simulate, like if a new client connects to the same Meshery instance, they would also get back all these notifications. So the last, I guess, they will take the last n notifications from all of the producers, and then it's stream them back here. And yeah, so that's kind of the summary of what I've been working on. And Usad, can you take it from here about your enhancement of error messages and all?
Yes, sure.
Okay, just before you do that, anyone have any doubts regarding this thing or any suggestions? This might be the time, because Uzair would discuss about a different aspect of this change.
By the way, no one gets made fun of for even the silliest of questions. That's just not this community. If for anything, you'll be sorry that you asked, because you'll probably get it explained like 5 times from 5 different people. Most everybody is here learning, including myself. I just learned something new that that you can show that like 10 different notifications fit on the screen at the same time. I didn't know that. So anyway, it's really good to either pipe up in this meeting or in the discussion forum or in the Slack. You'll only ever be accidentally ignored. That you won't, and that which will almost never happen. It's like never the case that someone doesn't get their question answered. It would be the case that you'd be chastised if you didn't do a little bit of your own homework and you're really making someone else do the reading for you. And that'll be really obvious. But otherwise, ask your questions. So everybody has context for what Ashish just said, what they're working on.
Okay, so I had a question. In our local development Meshery server, are we getting right now the notification? Like we can see them?
Can you come again?
Yeah, you should be. Whether you've deployed Meshery in a container or you've built Meshery and you're running it locally, if you invoke an action that's performed by an adapter, like this is the Istio adapter, if you invoke one of these actions, whether the operation is successfully completed or not, you should get back a notification. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, I was asking this only. I will say this. And thanks.
By the way,
Sure.
the architecture you just showed, is it driven by the API event framework as it was before, or GQL subscription?
Okay, so right now, the end goal is of course a GraphQL subscription. Right now, that /API/events REST endpoint, which does not terminate the TCP connection and keep streaming back the events. So we are right now using that, but that as a last step, that would be like a very easy process to take all that logic and to have a schema defined, a GraphQL schema, and then basically, yeah, that would be very less code change, because we won't have to change the internal logic for this thing. Only the interface would change, and we can have a new subscription. So after we have made a decision on the backend side of these things, so how we want to stream back events from this end, once basically this whole thing is finalized and we get all those PRs merged, and then this can be a last small step to port it to a GraphQL subscription.
Okay, got it.
So earlier, Ashish, it was, if I remember correctly, it was that each of the clients were directly making gRPC calls to the server, right? Instead of that buffer.
Okay, so right now also each of the clients, like in my, let me share my screen one last time. Okay, so right now also, yes, each of the clients would create a gRPC connection, because if 10 events are produced, we need to send those 10 events to all n number of consumers that we have. So in this case, this is a per user request instance, you can imagine. So if for each request, if there are like 10 producers, with all of those 10 producers, one gRPC connection would be formed. So there would be, if there are n producers and one client, there would be n gRPC connect. No, it doesn't have to be a gRPC connection. As I said, it can be basically it can be a gRPC connection or a normal function call, depending upon whether we are remotely calling this producer or whether this producer logic is local or resides within the same process. So depending upon that, this can be different. But yes, so it would be, you're talking in terms of adapters. The reason I'm also talking about the normal function call is right now when I deployed the namespace here, and we got this successfully deployed this Kate's component. This was a function call and not a gRPC call, because the logic, the event production of deploying Kubernetes stuff resides within the resides within the Meshery server. Also, if I deploy an application, in that case also our producer would be Meshery server. So in that case, that would be a function call. And yes, that there would be a normal function call would be, you can imagine, like a blocking call that returns a channel, and stuff is streamed back on that channel, go channel. And in gRPC also, we keep calling dot receive, and essentially it just keeps streaming back stuff on the channel, but it's on wire instead of in a single process. So yeah, there would be n function calls to n producers for each client.
Yeah, I remember this being broken before, because we were calling receive on different go routines, which is docs say you shouldn't do.
Receive on different?
Like, so the same, I think it was something like, now I forget, but I think it was the same connection, and we were calling receives. Each client just had one connection to the, I guess, yeah, the adapter or so, I think. And then it was calling receive over that same connection. Each client was calling receive by itself.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? And that
was
breaking it.
What was breaking at that time?
It was just giving on one of the clients. It was
actually, because that the reason that it was giving on one of the client is because that what was happening is that there was no buffer, or there was no, so the struct, I have created a PR that actually creates this struct, which does this thing a little bit elegantly. What we were doing before this is that if you have like one client, okay, so here's the thing. At the producer side, if n clients are connected to these producers, there has to be n gRPC calls, right? But in previous case, even if there are n gRPC calls, once an event is sent to one of those calls, like if imagine these pipes to be like n pipes like these, if one event is sent like this, it's not being sent in n-1 other thing. So basically, we were using Go channels to do broadcasting in an improper way. We were not broadcasting. We were actually just sending to one random client, and that was the bug. But in this case, the struct that I have introduced here, the event buffer struct, which would be instantiated by each producer, actually broadcasts it. So all of the connected gRPC, all of these connected channels will get that streamed back. So that bug won't be there.
Okay, great.
Okay.
My issue is somewhat related to this agenda item. So can I go ahead?
Yeah, please.
So like as Ashish mentioned, like we have, whenever there is an error on meshkit, or whenever there is an error on Meshery server, we throw meshkit error, which includes the complete error description. Like the error includes the error code, what is the cause of the error, the overall description, and what are the suggested remediation, and all this stuff. So in the client side, we were not utilizing that. So I've made changes so that we properly utilize that code, and the user is notified completely like what has gone wrong, and how it can be, and what is the remedy for that. And also I have moved the notification messages into a Redux variable so that it is easier to handle, and it includes the changes in adapter library and protobuf files. And there are more things need to be done, like whenever whenever you deploy an application or pattern file, you just receive a notification like it is deployed. You don't receive all the process that happens. Like when you deploy a pattern file, the request gets sent to the server, then it gets verified like all. We have a pattern engine, so it verifies that the pattern file is correct or not. So these events should also be streamed to the client, that he should know that your request is being processed and not like it is lost or it is gone fail. So this also needs to be incorporated, so it will be done in next iteration. And the next thing is also like there are two kinds of events. There are first type is when the notifications that are received when the user performs some operation like deployment or provision. And there are and the second type is when you like when you have Kubernetes cluster connected, and due to some error or fault the cluster gets disconnected. So it is not an event initiated by user, but this is an important event and needs to be notified to the user. So currently we are not sending that event. So this also needs to be streamed and properly segregated, like operation and notification. So here if you see, like there is only one type notification. So some design changes will be required here as well. And so yes, this was the this was what I was working on. And I was also working on Meshery catalog, and I did some changes here. Like there was a bug with pagination in the application patterns and filters. I have made changes for that and added queries for GraphQL queries for catalogs. So these were my updates.
Okay, good updates. Uzair, Ashish, thanks. So Cyrine is not here, I think. I just checked the participant list. So we can move to Nishant. Fix problems with URL pattern handling in mesheryctl onboard.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. So is my screen visible?
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. So like I was working on like fixing some problems with the mesheryctl onboard command. So basically there were two problems. The first one was that recently in the API of creating a application. Earlier we were not like converting an application YAML to a pattern, but recently we started converting it to a pattern and storing it. And in mesheryctl, before deploying, we used to we still are like every time we get the application from the backend and then convert again to a pattern. So it is because we already have started converting it to patterns, and we are again converting into a pattern, it is giving errors. So I've removed that logic from here, this part that again converts it into a pattern. And there was one more problem. Whenever we use mesheryctl with like with f flag and provide a URL of a file, it was not working. Like it works with normal URLs of normal file URLs, but there was also some logic to handle github.com URLs, so it can automatically get the file from the GitHub URL. So like looking at the function, like currently it looked like it was made to handle directories, not files. So I wanted to discuss if it was intentional. Like so for example, whenever a user would do something like this and given folder in the f flag, it like then the logic was that to traverse all the files in that folder, and if it was a YAML file, we'll import it. And
ideally, it does both.
Sorry?
Ideally, it does both, either,
Okay.
depending upon. No, ideally, it would change its behavior depending upon whether someone pointed to a specific file or to a folder.
Okay.
Part of this, one thing that may or may not be confused within the code is the distinction between whether or not the user has authenticated to Meshery Cloud using their Git credentials, their GitHub credentials specifically, or not. I don't know that affects this here, but it is as you consider this and kind of wade through the different possibilities of like browsing a whole file, maybe browsing an entire repo, or just receiving an individual file. Know that one of the considerations that we need to account for is that GitHub, its public API, has rate limits, and we won't always be able to avoid those. If someone's pointing to a raw GitHub link there, and it's just a GET request, there's no that won't hit the API. That's fine. That doesn't count against the user in terms of them getting rate limited. But if they,
I think in this case, like in this Git Walker, like as far as I remember, we don't use GitHub APIs. We clone the complete repository into a temporary folder, and then we traverse the folder. So we're not using GitHub APIs. There's another Walker, GitHub Walker. I think that uses GitHub APIs, but this doesn't. And
this one had a bug a while back. Was it fixed?
yeah, it was like skipping some files. So yeah, that was fixed.
Okay.
And so yeah, this is what I wanted to discuss, that it was not working for files because in this root path, you were entering this complete path of the file, and this should be a directory, not a file. So it was not working. But the current way I've modified it, it will only work for files, not directories. Maybe I'll refactor it a little bit more so it can support both. And yeah, like Alpha and Ruturaj are working on a complete refactor of onboard and adding an import command. I'll close this PR and add these changes in that PR itself.
Yep, that would be great, so that we have like centralized stuff.
Yeah, good. Okay, thank you, Nishant. Let's move on to the next item. Alpha, Ruturaj. Is it similar, or do we need to talk about it?
Yeah, it's similar. I'll just give you Aditya just made an import function, which just abstracts away the import logic. And in my PR, I just use that import function inside onboard instead of writing the entire import logic again for onboard. And yeah, and it fixes some stuff also. That's all.
Okay. Aditya, do you have something to talk about it?
Yeah, nothing much. Ruturaj has said almost all the things about this PR. So yeah.
Okay, then great. Yeah, Pankaj, if you're here.
Yes.
You can share your screen and show the one.
So this is the PR I had created. So the issue was that no progress or loading or any context is shown to the user when Meshery CTL pattern apply is used, or there are many such apply commands or deploy commands that take a lot of time, and there is no feedback given to the user as of what is happening. So this issue was to add a loader and even add the pattern name to it. So I created a pull request for that, wherein I can simply show you this demo. So that's the simple loader that has been implemented. And once that's done, the line is erased. And after that, the successful request message is shown. So that was implemented by adding a utility, which is loader.
By the way, before this PR, after this, basically synchronously waiting on the terminal, the log had this, okay, pattern successfully applied. And along with that, if the pattern has had n components, it used to say like book info deployed, this component deployed, this component deployed. So are those logs being removed from somewhere, or when you deployed that pattern? So yeah, can you talk about that?
No, when I had previously deployed that same pattern without making changes with the loader, I only saw one log message which was pattern successfully applied. So I did not see those multiple log messages that you're talking
about. Okay.
So then this is the first, the change was to add the pattern name. So for that, I simply added the unmarshal method to take out the pattern name once again and then log it. And after that, the part about the loader comes in. So for the loader, this is these are the symbols or the character set that I chose. Different ones can be used. And so the part that I had to spend a lot of time on here was to understand how do I change things on the terminal. That is, how do I erase things off and move the cursor accordingly. And that's one of the things that is causing an issue with the failing test. So right here, there is a failing test where the output does not match with the golden file that is already present. So I'm currently trying to match those outputs, because I'm actually erasing this line, which is applying pattern and then the loader. So I'm trying to erase this line so that the pattern matches with the test case. But while the test case is running, it is actually erasing another line, which is part of the output of the test case. So that is not supposed to happen. For that, I should actually try and shift up the cursor or down. So I'm trying to figure out which kind of ANSI escape sequence I should use, or which combination, so that the output should match with the golden file that is there. And also, Lee had asked me if there are some other commands as well which I can identify which could use this loader functionality. And so performance apply for running a performance test, for deploying a mesh, and app onboard, app offboard, as well as the wasm filter deploy. These are the different commands that I have identified which can make use of such a loader.
Okay, two questions. For the first question is, can you go back to the files changed?
Sure.
There, while unmarshalling, you have created this temporary struct. Why didn't you use the existing struct that we have inside of models?
So that depends upon right below.
On line number, can you scroll above on line number? I guess. Yeah, here, what 227.
Right.
This, yeah.
So that actually depends upon the API response that we get. Which...
No, I mean that yeah, on the left side, models.meshery pattern, that
right.
struct. Yeah.
Right. So I was not able to, there were some errors during unmarshalling. So I thought since according to the discussion that we had, that name is just a top level field which is part of the pattern file. So I can create a temporary struct and unmarshal it. So that would be fine.
Okay, that actually I know why that why you would get an error. That YAML.unmarshal is for YAML.unmarshal to work. There we have a function recursive map string interface, something like that, you can find that function. If you use that function, that basically goes on and before YAML.marshal. So it is logic built upon YAML.marshal. So the bugs, YAML.unmarshal. So the bugs you are getting in YAML.unmarshal won't be there if you use that function. After the call, I'll tell you where the function is. But if you directly call into that function, you can actually basically that function was built for this thing, that you can unmarshal anything to a pattern struct. I'll point you to that function, and instead of YAML.unmarshal, you can call that function. Okay, and the second question was the function that you're calling for loading, is that generic enough that other commands would just call into that, or there are some, what are the arguments that loading function take, or whatever the struct it has, how generic it is to be used for other commands?
Right. So simply, currently I'm only adding a message that a message can be passed on to the struct. But if it has to be made generic enough, there can be a different character set or symbols that can be defined to be passed in for the loader. And to think of it extensively, that if, let's say, the loader is running and there is an issue in the response. So according to the response code, there can be a different stop message or an end message that can be shown. So a status can be added to the struct that can take care if the response is not 200. So there will be there'll be a tick mark, or there will be a cross, or something else that will be shown in place of the loader. So that can be added to the struct. Apart from that, I think for now, if a loader is to be added, then a message will suffice for so that the log message can be passed into the spinner and it will be simply logged.
Nice. There's a specific framework used for errors that you'll just want to give consideration to as you as you look at this, as you look at that return string or that return. So I don't know how that plays in, but yeah. Another thought, to the extent that this could be potentially event driven, that would be all the better. Doesn't necessarily have to be, but it's nice. Just another food for thought. It's something you probably already thought of, but just I'll press upon the point. And then I thought there was one other thing. No, great. Yeah, like just making a great UX revolves a lot around consistency. And so thank you so much for taking a look across the rest of the commands for where else there might need to be a loader. I remember the thing I was gonna, I don't know that it's possible. I don't know that the project is equipped with the type of information that you would need to be able to make this progress indicator, this loader, this progress, like actually showing you a percentage or something, like from 0 to, I don't know that you can know in advance what 100% is. It's actually in part to my comment about how timely this enhancement is of what Uzair and Ashish were showing is very relevant. They were showing it from the perspective of a different client, a Meshery UI as a client, and receiving back notifications about the success or failure of an operation. Turns out that you're just using a different client, and you're showing people, and you're hinting to them that their operation has been received, in this case, like importing a pattern that is being worked on. So, just be patient and wait. And so, so to the extent that the messaging framework, like the portion of Meshery, between Meshery server and its adapters, to the extent that there are intermediate messages as things are being provisioned, because sometimes it's not just as simple. Sometimes it's like it's like a workflow, like a multi-phased set of operations that occur behind the scenes. And so to the extent that there's portions of Meshery that have a directed acyclic graph that have like a predefined set of operations that that Meshery knows that it needs to do in order to fulfill the request. Like you don't need to account for all of what I just said in this PR, but it's a good kind of point of discussion inside of what Ashish and Uzair are doing. Is a good question to be asking ourselves. Are we designing the system, architecting the system in such a way that eventually we might be able to actually let the user know, hey, if you've been watching this spinner for 5 minutes, yes, you should keep watching it for another 10 because it's only at the 25% mark, because they might be watching it for 15 going, well, I guess it's still going, you know, like, because they wouldn't otherwise. But anyway, this is a nice, you know, it's a nice UX improvement in the meantime.
By the way, Pankaj, just one more thing. I have added the link to the notification center design spec in the chat. You can go through that, go look at that. And if you dig into the code, just 2 keywords for you. Inside of Meshery server, look at /API/events. Inside of adapters, look for stream events functions. And while things would make sense if you will look at the code.
All right. Thanks, Lian, Ashish.
Thanks, Pankaj. So, Harkirat, would you like to talk about Docker extension of load subjects?
Yeah. So I'm sharing my screen. So earlier, like when we used to like a user have the option unchecked, then we were not able to show the containers. But I came up with the approach like with this. Now we can also get the containers if the option is unchecked. So this error need a little formatting and it's good to go. And another update I have is regarding the user-friendly message. So it's wrapped for now, and we are now working on the unit test. I think Nishant would be also working with me in the unit test for these particular subcommands as well. And the last is something related to where is the so the last thing is like I'm asking feedback for this stuff regarding. Yeah, so when we have to view a pattern based on this like ID, we are not able to view because the pattern ID is too long. So when we use the pattern, mesheryctl pattern list, and we get a particular ID, so we are not able to view it. So I need some feedback. So over this, Docker use something like this, like they also have this long ID, but when we have to inspect, we can by the short ID, we can also inspect the container. So this is all from my side. Under a minute.
Oh. And Harkarat, you can't just drop a bomb like that and then move on. We gotta absorb it for a second. Yeah, that's great. I might be missing part of the point that you're making, which sounds like a great UX point. If you haven't, do me a favor and spend a little bit of time with mesheryctl perf and how it lets you kind of search for like profile names, or how it lets you, because any given user might have a long list of performance results, and they might have a long list of performance profiles. So each profile they might have a bunch of profiles. Each profile might have a bunch of results. And there's been, gosh, a lot of thought that was put into the UX around what if people, like use cases like what if people have the same performance profile name twice, or how do we display all these test results but not overwhelm them? And if you play with that command for a little while, you might have some reflections on your thinking around the pattern ID. It's good. It's good.
Okay, I hope you acknowledge those items. So I think that's a wrap. Thanks again for joining. Meet you in the next meeting, probably in the
So Avi, this will be like the third time I've interrupted you at this meeting. I apologize. I wanted to make sure that before people started dropping off, that just earlier this morning, we were just making the decision to have next Meshery dev call next Wednesday, to convert that from a dev call to a workshop, to like basically taking a step back, looking at service meshes, their purpose, their use cases, and then using Meshery in a number of labs, walking through those labs to use Meshery to deploy service mesh and some sample apps and to configure the mesh. And so you're all very welcome to come. As a matter of fact, if you're not there, I'm taking a screenshot right now. If you're not there, then I'm no. Anyway, it's for some of you, it might be boring because you've been there, done that. But for others of you, if it is boring and you've been there, done that, then you might want to come and field some questions from other learners. So we'll use this same time. I expect it'll probably be about a 2-hour workshop. It'll be live streamed, but recorded in case you miss it and you want to go back and bore yourself again. But I want to make sure we get it called out before we forgot. So we'll get some details out about where that is.
Great. Nice. Yeah. So the next next week there would be the workshop. In the timing of this meeting. So good. It's a wrap, right? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the future better luck next time. Yes, Pradeep. So yeah, we are out of time. So okay, we will discuss these all in the next development call meeting. So since then, till then, you can join the newcomers meeting and the next Meshery build and release meeting. So we have it tomorrow. So I hope you all have subscribed to the Meshery calendar, layer 5 calendar. So good. See you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Avi.
Yes.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.